so excited to dig into God's word with you this morning. We're starting with Jesus helps and heals. As Jesus was leaving Jairus' house, two blind men started to follow him. "Help us, Jesus," they called. Jesus stopped. "Do you think I can heal you?" he asked. "Yes, Lord," they said. So Jesus touched their eyes. "Because you believed, you won't be blind anymore," he told them. The two men opened their eyes and they could see. Jesus had healed them. Everywhere he went, Jesus loved the people no one else loved and cared for people no one else would go near. Some people had a disease so horrible they were sent to live outside the city, away from everyone else. People were afraid of them, but not Jesus. He loved them just as much as he loved everyone else, and he healed them when they asked him to. He gave them new life. More and more people heard about Jesus and the amazing, wonderful things he was doing. And more people came to ask for his help. One day, Jesus was at a house and a huge crowd gathered around him. A group of friends arrived carrying a man who couldn't walk. They wanted Jesus to help their friend, but the house was so full of people that it was impossible to get in. They were desperate to see Jesus because they knew he was the only one who could help. So they came up with an idea. They climbed up to the top of the house, smashed a hole in the roof, and lowered their friend down right in front of Jesus. Jesus looked at the man on the mat. "All the things you have done wrong are forgiven," he said, "and because your friends had faith, you are healed. Now get up and walk again." And the man did. He stood up, picked up his mat, and walked home full of thanks to God. Jesus knew that it was far more important to be forgiven than healed, but he also knew that the man wanted to walk again. Because he loved the man, he did both. Jesus forgave him and healed him, feeding 5,000 at least. Jesus and his disciples had been traveling and teaching, helping and healing. One day, though, they needed to escape the crowds and rest. They set off across the lake looking for a quiet spot. But when they reached the other side of the lake, they saw a huge crowd of people waiting for them. There were thousands of people. Jesus could have turned around or told everyone to go home, but he looked out at his followers, loved them, and wanted to help them. Jesus spent the whole day teaching and helping the enormous crowd. When evening came, everyone was hungry. "There's no food here," the disciples said to Jesus. "Let's send everyone home." "Why don't you feed them?" Jesus said. "That's impossible," they said. "How on earth could we buy food for all these people?" "Show me what you have," Jesus said. Well, all they had was one small meal from one small boy, just 5 loaves and 2 fish. One tiny picnic for such an enormous crowd? How ridiculous. But Jesus gave thanks to God and broke the bread and fish into pieces. Jesus handed the food to the disciples and told them to pass it out. So off they went, thinking, "This isn't nearly enough. Any minute now, we'll run out." But they didn't. No matter how much food they gave away, they still had more. And everyone ate until they couldn't manage another crumb. When the disciples had picked up all the leftovers, they had 12 full baskets. Jesus had given the people even more than they needed. Night was coming, so Jesus sent the crowds and the disciples home, but he went up into the hills to pray. Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was an important tax collector, and he was very rich. His job was collecting money from everyone, but like most tax collectors, he often took too much and kept it for himself. Most people didn't like tax collectors, and plenty of people didn't like Zacchaeus. One day, Zacchaeus heard that Jesus was coming to his town. Everyone seemed to be talking about this man and the amazing things he was doing. Zacchaeus was curious too. He wanted to see Jesus too, so off he went. But Zacchaeus wasn't the only one who wanted to see Jesus that day, and unfortunately for Zacchaeus, he couldn't see over the crowds. He just wasn't tall enough. This was a problem. So Zacchaeus came up with an idea. He scrambled up into the branches of a nearby tree and watched for Jesus. All of a sudden, he spotted him. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Jesus was walking right toward him. "Hello, Zacchaeus," said Jesus. "I want to come to your house today. Come down from up there." Well, that wasn't at all what Zacchaeus had expected. In fact, it wasn't what anyone had expected. Why was Jesus visiting a tax collector? Everyone knew what Zacchaeus was like, and of course, so did Jesus. But he loved him all the same. Zacchaeus leapt down from his branch, overjoyed that Jesus wanted to come to his house. And because he could tell that Jesus really loved him, Zacchaeus wanted to change right then and there. I want to make things right again, he told Jesus. I'm going to give away half of everything I have. And if I've stolen from anyone, I'll give them back 4 times as much. Zacchaeus had been given a new life, which is what Jesus came to do. Love the people others didn't and bring everyone close to him. The lost sheep. Jesus liked to tell stories. He used them to teach people about God. One day, Jesus was with a group of people who didn't have many friends and weren't at all popular. They had stolen money, cheated others, hurt people, and made enemies. This bothered some people. Why was Jesus friends with that crowd? So Jesus told this story. Once there was a shepherd who had 100 sheep. He loved them all and took very good care of them. He knew that the best place for them was close to him. Every night when the sun went down, he counted his sheep carefully, making sure they were all safe. But one night the shepherd counted to 99 and then stopped. One of his precious sheep was missing. This was awful, the worst. There was only one thing to do. He had to find his lost sheep. Off he rushed, leaving the others behind. He searched high, he searched low. All through the night he hunted, worried about his one precious sheep. Then at last he saw him. He grabbed that little sheep and carried him all the way home. And oh, how happy he was, how full of joy. His precious sheep was back where he belonged. I am the shepherd, Jesus said, and you are my sheep. The best place for you is close to me because you are mine. Just like the shepherd who celebrated when he found the lost sheep, God is full of joy whenever one of his children comes home to him. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday with your families. God bless.